Hello there, kia ora. Are you an expert on Te Tiriti or Waitangi? Because I'm not. I know that I'm not. You see, I had a pretty stock standard public school education. I didn't even study history in high school, but I still had to deal with the fact that we had houses that were named after some terrible people, like a mercenary who would sneak into marae at night and murder women and children while they slept, or the guy that came over on behalf of the crown to completely quell what he considered a rebellion and was described by one historian as so effective he essentially wiped out the idea of there ever being an independent Maori movement in this country. Yeah, my education was certainly a little bit off, and I'm only a few years older than somebody like David Seymour, who, to be fair, had a very different education. He went to Auckland Grammar, where they don't really care so much about things like fairness, they're all about meritocracy. And that really does say a lot about how he sees the world. And when you sit down and look at the documents that were leaked yesterday, leaking documents again, man, that's becoming a problem. But if you sit down and look at the documents that were leaked yesterday, looking at what the proposed referendum questions are going to be to redesign Te Tiriti, well, it shows a complete lack of understanding of the topic. And as I said, I'm not an expert on this, but that's what the experts have said. Like Dr. Luke Fitzmaurice Brown, who is a Victoria University lecturer in law and te tiriti. He's pointed out that a use of some of the words that they've got in there just make no sense whatsoever in the context of what they're saying. Like kawanatanga, which scholars agree actually means that the Crown at the time has limited power to govern its own people. Or tino rangatiratanga, which in Te Tiriti is a power that gives Māori the ability to have collective self-determination, and it's not to do with chieftainship. Or Article 3 being all about equitable outcomes, not equal rights like this rewrite would have you believe. And there's a lot of people out there with blue ticks on Twitter, for example, who are really excited about this. And that weird whooshing sound and popping noise that you heard, that was Don Brash's head exploding as blood started pumping around his body again when he got so excited about hearing this. But there's a whole bunch of things really wrong with this document, according to the Ministry of Justice. Like the fact that they just think it's an out and out bad idea, but it's also not in line with the spirit with which Te Tiriti was signed or with the actual text of the document. They've pointed out as well that there has been no consultation whatsoever with Māori, and that looks like trying to erase one half of the partnership of the founding document of this country. They also point out that it looks like the other partner, the Crown, is trying to redefine exactly what those terms and obligations are under the treaty, and nobody can do that with a treaty anywhere in the world. You can't just unilaterally decide we're going to change its meaning. There's also the possibility that this is a breach of international standards when it comes to different rules, but it also has the potential of removing a legal system way of enforcing any type of Maori right to exercise self-determination. There is so much wrong with this particular suggestion. Now, this is only essentially a really early first draft before the law is going to be introduced in May, but it gives you a really clear indication as to exactly what is on the table here. Now, David is no expert in Te Tiriti. He was an electrical engineer and philosopher before he moved to Canada to become part of Atlas Group think tanks. So he has about as much of an ability to rewrite the meanings of Te Tiriti as I do with my country school education in houses named after racists. This is a really bad idea.